And, of course, we always look forward to this conversation, a little vitamin T. Teresa Tomeo joining us right now. And, Teresa, of course, you're celebrating wherever you are. And, boy, oh, boy, we get to celebrate St. Francis once again, don't we?
Yes, we do. Good morning. Now, I'm back in the States. We arrived, I think you were on with me. I was on with you last week, but I arrived in the States on July 20th. So we're here until the middle of September. But this is a really big week, and it's so exciting because the Holy Father will be meeting with the young people. There's a conference going on in Assisi right now, and he will be there on Thursday, August 6th. And there's going to be a big celebration centered around the Porziuncola, or Little Portion Church, in Santa Maria d'Angeli, which is, of course, below the city of Assisi. It's a separate city all its own, but it's such an important place in the life of St. Francis. And there's so much that happened at St. Mary of the Angels. And I just hope people will do two things. Go to my series. I have a whole segment on this church and on the Porziuncola. So go to ewtn.com/St. Francis. It's a free 8-part series on the life of St. Francis. And also, if you make a small donation, you can get a copy of my book, Volume 2 of Italy, Shrines and Wonders, which, of course, is all about St. Francis of Assisi. So what's really cool is I'm watching all this coverage on the Vatican, and I know a lot of the priests now because we've spent so much time in Assisi. We go to Mass there on Sundays, the English Mass. I've done interviews with the priests. And so Friar Luca is one of the big ones being interviewed because he's involved with the young people. So it's just really beautiful to see so much attention paid on this church, because oftentimes, and I think I've mentioned it to you before, guys, people will come to Assisi and they'll go right up to Assisi and fly past St. Mary of the Angels, which is really a big mistake because it's such an important church.
So Teresa, is and I'm going to probably say this wrong, Porziuncola, is that the same thing as St. Mary's of the Angels Church?
Or is it is different? Inside. It's a little church inside St. Mary of the Angels. So the minute you walk inside the main area of St. Mary of the Angels, your eyes are drawn to the Little Portion Church. So it sits right in the middle. And then behind it, of course, is the main altar of the Basilica. So you can actually walk up and go through it and then go around to the main altar, or go over to the side where you see the Chapel of the Transit, where St. Francis passed away 800 years ago. And then behind that is the Rose Garden, where he threw himself into the roses to avoid temptation. And those roses, there's this particular type of rose that only blooms there in Assisi. It has no thorns. So it's just a beautiful church. The artwork is off the charts. And when you come to see it, when you go into the main piazza, he's going to be gathering with them for Mass after he goes inside the church to the Porziuncola. He's going to be gathering in the piazza in front of the church. But if you look up, there's this beautiful statue of the Blessed Mother, the Mother of the Angels, St. Mary of the Angels. So It's such a gorgeous place. And I'm so excited there's so much emphasis on this church this week.
We get swallowed up in these beautiful basilicas and these large churches and so forth. But to be standing in a Little Portion Church, I would imagine you really get a sense of intimacy.
You do. Only about 20 to 25 people can sit inside or pray inside comfortably. And the artwork in the Porziuncola is stunning. Now, it was actually gifted to St. Francis and the Friars Minor when they moved there from Rivetorto by the Benedictine monks. And it has been rebuilt, and it was rebuilt by the very hands of St. Francis. When the Lord spoke to him from the San Damiano cross up in the convent outside Assisi, he said, rebuild my church, because as you can see, it's in ruins. Many people thought he misunderstood and started rebuilding churches because he thought the Lord meant physically. But the Lord meant it both physically and spiritually. And he actually rebuilt 3 different churches in that area of Italy and Umbria. And the Porziuncola was one of them. San Pietro in Rivetorto was another. And San Damiano, where the cross originally was hanging before it was moved to St. Clare of Assisi's Basilica in Assisi. Those are 3 of the churches that he actually rebuilt. When he had his conversion, he would go around, he would beg for money to repair the churches because he was so Eucharistic. He loved the Lord so much, and he wanted the churches to be in the proper shape to celebrate the highest form of prayer, which is the Mass. So I'm really excited because there's so much about St. Francis that people bypass, and they think of Assisi, they think of St. Francis, and they only think of Assisi, and they don't pay much attention to St. Mary of the Angels or Spoleto or Gubbio or the other cities that I highlight in the book that are associated with his amazing life.
Well, I think it's interesting, Teresa, because it appears, and I could be wrong, but in our country, it appears that we have a big focus on the Porziuncola, because I know at Lourdes we have one. There's a parish in our diocese that has one. And yet to hear you say that people kind of walk by St. Mary of the Angels where this is, where the original is, kind of surprises me. Is there like, don't people know what's in there, or isn't as important as what it is in our country?
I think there's people are very busy. I think the problem, Pat, is that they may be aware of it, but if they're on a limited time frame
Oh,
when they go to their pilgrimage in Assisi,
yeah.
you have to really make a designated stop. It's a very large basilica. It's massive, but it's absolutely stunning. And so you do have to find a parking space if you're on your own. If you're on a pilgrimage bus, you have to park the bus in a special location, walk across the street, and go in on a guided tour. I think if you have a limited amount of time, a lot of groups will just go up to Assisi because you have so much to see there. San Rufino, St. Clare's Church, St. Mary Major for Carlo Acutis, San Francesco, and then they leave and they may stop and go to, jump inside St. Mary of the Angels for a few minutes on the way out. But I really hope that people, by reading my book and hopefully listening to us, and you're so familiar with the importance of the Porziuncola, that if they do have a plan to go to Assisi, to make a really dedicated amount of time for it. Don't just run in, say a prayer in the Porziuncola and leave. Pray there, go to the Chapel of the Transit, spend some time, and think about this is where St. Francis actually gave the habit to St. Clare. There's so much that happened here. The
Wow.
Friars Minor began there. It's such an important center of the life of St. Francis.
Yeah, and,
Wha-
and you point that out so well in your book, the second edition of Italy, Shrines and Wonders, too, that you really do need to plan enough time and don't be rushing
Right.
from place to place. You don't want to miss anything. You want to immerse yourself in all of it.
Yeah, especially this year because we're celebrating 800 years of the passing of St. Francis. So even if you can't get there, that's why we did the series. The series is so beautifully filmed, right on location. And the segment that I talked about today is probably one of our longest ones on St. Mary of the Angels and the Porziuncola. So people can download it for free, ewtn.com/St. Francis. I mean, go on an armchair pilgrimage as we get closer to this anniversary of St. Francis, even if you're not going to have any plans to get overseas anytime soon. Check out the book, check out the series. It's so easy to just at your own comfort level to absorb this. And especially as we're still in these beautiful summer months in the Midwest, which will soon be waning, as we all know, right?
Yeah.
You maybe sit outside in the garden with your phone or your St. Francis book and look around and think about what he gave to us in the world. I've grown to love him so much more. I thought I knew him. Now I know him much better, having living there part-time for 4 years and really just being in all the places where he lived and grew the faith.
Well, Teresa, I would suspect with Carlo Acutis, St. Carlo Acutis, his body being in Assisi, that is a real draw also. So can you kind of
Yes.
give us a look at now, where is that at in regards to the Church of St. Mary of the Angels? Like, what's
Sure.
the location?
Sure. So St. Mary of the Angels is below in a separate city, St. Mary
Okay.
de Angeli. And the
Okay.
main basilicas, including St. Mary Major of Carlo Acutis, St. Clare, where St. Clare is buried, and St. Francis, where he's buried, are all in Assisi proper on top of the Mount Subasio.
Okay, great. Thank you. That gives me a.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And of course, if since Teresa is your stateside, so I mean anybody who's visiting Italy now, I assume you leave your door open. We can go in and raid the fridge.
That's right. Have
Go
a
ahead
glass of wine. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck finding it. It's in the middle of the country, but it's a little village. But go ahead.
Vitamin T. Teresa Tomeo, thanks so much.
Thanks, Teresa.
Now, talk to you next week.